Audacity.
All right, here we go. Oh yeah, I didn't do an Audacity either. Oh well, it's on now. I guess let's go ahead and pull that up. You got it going?
Yeah.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1, record. All right, and hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another Best Darn Everything. This is our second time to do this, I believe now. And today, instead of talking about The Simpsons, like Richie and I normally do each week on Best Darn Diddley, we are going to be diving into Cobra Kai, which Richie just finished. I watched yesterday. We're both big fans of the first two seasons, and we have not talked at all about our thoughts on season 3. So, Richie, now finally, please unload, talk as much or as long as you'd like to about your thoughts and feelings of season 3.
All right. Well, the fun part about season 3 for me was that I watched it with somebody that I'm pretty sure doesn't like or doesn't have the influence from the original movies like we do. So like they wanted to see all the parts with the kids and all the drama with that. But all the stuff that really got to me was all the stuff with the original characters from the movies. And
like the Karate Kid and Daniel LaRusso.
Exactly. But oh man, like the nostalgia factor on this season was like through the roof for me. Like I've just go ahead and throw it out there. The actors from the second movie, like especially when there's gonna be a lot of spoilers in this. Can we just like?
Oh, we're gonna talk about everything. So if you have not seen Cobra Kai season 3 and you care about the melodrama that happens between the really cool shit, it's all gonna get spoiled.
I guess I should have thrown it back to you first before you said that.
I don't think I actually ever introduced you. You are the co-host with the most, so you're handling it just fine.
Well, you're the man, the myth, the Miyagi Do Joe. That's Miles over there. So gotta tie it all back together. But yeah, like I'm not even gonna lie. When Kumiko read the letter from Mr. Miyagi, I was like bawling my eyes out. Like, I was absolutely bawling my eyes out. Like
I was going to admit to multiple occasions during the 10-episode arc of season 3 in which I got a little Mr. Most Days weepy because it was that letter, dude. Oh my god,
I want to cry right now just thinking about it. But on top of that, when he was leaving Okinawa, and she introduced him to somebody else, and she goes, "You don't remember her?" And as soon as she said that, I went, "Oh, it's the little girl!" And then it did the flashback, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I got one more tear, and the person I was watching it with was like, "Really, like that?" And I was like, "Oh, but you don't understand."
It was. You mentioned watching it with somebody that like doesn't have the appreciation for the originals, or like just even if they appreciate them, but they're not like familiar. Because when we were in college, when we lived together, we had like the DVD box set of the Karate Kid, and we watched those motherfuckers a lot. Like there was many a night where it's just like, what are you in the mood for? I don't know, Karate Kid again, of course. And like
accepted your Karate Kid.
It was, yeah, that's true. Those were like our two go-tos. But like, and then it was always funny because it's like we would watch the first one, and then it'd be like, well, we might as well watch 2 and 3. Admittedly, the next Karate Kid, I think we both agree, is very skippable. It's fun in a weird way, but it's not really worth watching. But I do love that this show. It does have its own fan base. It's like just people who have seen Cobra Kai, have no idea what the Karate Kid is really, and can appreciate it because they do have some really good new characters that they introduce to the table. But I don't think there is a show around that does a better job of tying in little threads that just completely hit the nostalgia bone, but also make a lot of sense in the universe.
Oh man, like going off that, when they're in the bar in Okinawa and it's a close-up shot of the ice, I was like, that's so mean.
And then it's just like this fancy bar. Yeah. And I actually really like that too, how in Okinawa, so it's all modernized. Like there's like a KFC and like a Taco Bell, a 7-Eleven. Like it's all like how like it's how, it would be today. And it's really funny, and I think it's kind of to character how Daniel LaRusso is very self-centered. We talked about like there's a lot of how they play about in how some ways he could be considered the bad guy from the first movie, depending on the Barney Stinson approach. But there are some truths to the fact that he's very self-centered. He was pretty much moving in on Johnny Lawrence's girl, if you really want to like think about it that way. And he's very single-minded, and I think that is really like escalated and really shown very well when he's in Okinawa and he's like, I can't believe it's been 30 years and there's still not this underdeveloped fishing village. Like, how dare they go on? I need this memory. Like, it's like, of course they advanced. And it's kind of funny having to watch an adult Daniel LaRusso accept those things.
Well, I like how they even explain how that came about too, with Sato and everything else, and like trying to advance everything forward. And I loved all the stuff with Chosen too, where he got to learn a new wax on, wax off, basically. And then going into the final episode, I was like, well, this isn't even going to pay off at all. He hasn't even used it yet. And it was like, oh wait, nope, he used it real quick for like 5 seconds.
We still have time.
But no, it's I've very much enjoyed all the Okinawa stuff. Like that's exactly what I wanted all of it to be. And to go off of what you said, yeah, he's very self-centered, and it's actually, with a spoiler alert, we get to see Elizabeth Shue, and I actually love the last bit she does with both the guys, where she's like, there's 3 sides to every story, not just 2. Is what you think, and then the truth. And that's just kind of like a moniker for the show right there, because even with the ads, they always do like how Johnny feels everything went down in the original series versus how Daniel did. And even with Daniel and Miguel, when he gets to tell his side to Miguel when they're sitting in the car, it's Miguel kind of, you see it in his eyes where he's like, oh yeah, there's multiple sides to every story. And they kind of just explore that throughout the whole series.
Agreed. I think this show really like plays in the gray area of like a lot more than like, whereas the Karate Kid is that classic 80s good, evil, there is nothing in between. It's a clash, it's a battle. This, I hate to say the show is more to real life, because I mean, like, the last 2 seasons ended at a massive brawl in a completely unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic. It's like it's
campy. Like, it's campy fun.
It is very campy. I think though they take like real life emotions. They take the relationships between people are grounded, like very, very much so. But the way in which they go about resolving conflict is completely just bonkers, like absolutely bananas. However, I actually really like too in the new season 3, we really dive into John Kreese's backstory a lot, and that like you really they even kind of like point themselves out, or call themselves out a little bit, I should say, in the sense that it's like they're calling this guy a sociopath because of the way he's having these kids act, and it's like, well, yeah, any reasonable adult would see this is insane behavior. So by kind of throwing it on that character and then showing how insane of a backstory he has, I feel like they're kind of trying to ground it back a little bit. And I think that the fact that it looks like the 4th season is going to resolve at a karate tournament and not a high school or mansion brawl is going to be really good for the show, for what it's worth.
I don't like that they tried to humanize John Kreese. Like that bugs me, because he's just an awful human being, and they tried to
love that.
They tried to humanize him. And again, the person I was watching it with likes to point out, like I like to point out, that any good villain isn't a villain. They're just somebody that had a different upbringing and got shafted a lot, and so just how people perceive them to be as a villain. If you're just the villain, then that's boring. So it's supposed to be good when you humanize a bad guy. But like, I've hated John Kreese for like since the first time I saw Karate Kid. So like having to humanize somebody that you have that much hatred for, like I don't like that. I don't want to feel sorry for him. And like he still, despite going through a lot of terrible stuff, he still made choices that are terrible choices. So
I think it's still okay to hate him. I still kind of hate him. Like I like that they humanize him, and I like that there is a tinge of guilt that I have for hating him. But no, I don't by any means think that just because he had like that horrific event happen in his life. I mean, I did. That's a cool backstory. The snake pit is such a fun way to get like the Cobra Kai name too. I like all of that.
I really like the scene when he had the one dude's finger with the cigar.
Dude.
I thought he was going to do it for a second. I legitimately thought, oh, he's not going to give 2 craps. But he didn't, so oh well. Spoiler alert again.
Yeah, no, he is a sociopath. He's absolutely insane. And I really love the way that like they had like Cobra Kai, like I don't, not playing possum, that's not right, but they're they're like flipping the script. They were basically calling out Miyagi-Do and Johnny Lawrence's dojo. I'm sorry, Eagle Fang, which I need to get an Eagle Fang t-shirt. Just saying.
I've seen the other two with t-shirts, but I haven't seen the Eagle Fang t-shirt yet.
I saw the Eagle Fang t-shirt and I'm like, how is that not being worn by me right now? That's such a Johnny Lawrence. Johnny Lawrence is such a good character in this show. It was definitely the right choice to make him the sole focus in terms of the adults on Cobra Kai over Daniel LaRusso. Daniel LaRusso plays a huge role, but in my opinion, Johnny Lawrence is the definitive starring character.
Well, the theme for the third season too seems to be like bad teachers, which is a big deal in the original movies too. So like them having to take responsibility for everything that's happened, and like
it was honestly, a Miyagi-Do student that caused the accident with Miguel. I mean, that's facts.
But the other part too is that like the Cobra Kai students did what Cobra Kais don't do, which is what he was taught to do, which is show mercy. And so that just brings up the whole idea of like, was that teaching wrong? Even though like as an outsider looking in, you're like, no, that was the right thing to do. Robbie was just a dick for like 5 seconds. And I could get into characters. Well, we're going to get into characters on the show because Robbie, I'm just like, I'm so sick of Robbie. Like he annoys me, and Sam really annoys me. Like I do not like Sam.
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like Sam has brought everything upon herself. Like every chance she gets, she eggs on her fellow teammates. She kisses every boy that walks into her freaking father's dojo. I mean, like, I understand why Tori's pissed at her. I mean, I wouldn't go to the lengths Tori goes to, even though she also has every character.
Tori is another fascinating character. She's a great villain.
But she has a tragic backstory too. So is she really a villain, or is she just feeling lonely because everyone that she's getting close to is betraying what she's following?
I mean, I think that you're a villain until you are like you could be a villain now and not be a villain later. And Tori is that type of character where she's still young, she's still under incredible pressure. I could see her being a major story arc in the next one. I bet you know what. I wanted to say this, like seven episodes in, you messaged me like, oh, I think this dude is Terry Silver. And I'm like, not yet, but like it wasn't. But like at the end
2 seconds later, I was like, oh wait, no, he got executed.
Yeah, but at the very end, I think that is Terry Silver that he's
at the end it absolutely was, because in the third movie he says, you saved my life and I want to repay the favor. And like every time there's a flashback, I was like, that's gonna be Terry. It's gonna be Terry. It's gonna be Terry. So I think that Tori might be the next bad, and not bad boy of karate, but like the bad girl of karate. She might be like the Mike Barnes role, because Terry Silver is going to see her and be like, oh, I like you, and like train her to be like a cheater, like a dirty fighter, like Mike Barnes was essentially. I think it was Matt, but we'll continue on. I don't remember.
It was Matt Barnes. You're right.
I've seen a lot of speculation.
Now I'm tripping. Now I don't know.
Well, I'm going to talk while you do that. Yeah. There's a lot of speculation, whereas who's going to be in the final match in the All Valley tournament? Is it going to be Tori versus Sam? Is it going to be Miguel versus Robbie? Is it going to be where like it's co-ed and you don't know what kind of crazy mashup it's going to be? But that's one thing I do enjoy about the show, is that like when you think you've got it figured out, it is campy and you can figure most of the stuff out, but they're good at adding these little twists and turns in it. Although I did call the Hawk twist and I did call the Robbie twist in this season, but it's pretty easy to figure that stuff out.
I also agree. For what it is, Mike Barnes, for what it's worth. But,
okay. Sorry for making you second guess yourself.
No, you're good. I agree with you. And actually, I've been pretty Matt much with Cobra Kai's dick this entire time. But I will complain that I did not like how just suddenly Hawk's turn was in the fight at the end. Like that felt super convenient. And I get
they teased it a couple times throughout the season.
I know they did, but you're 100. I understand that like they were setting it up, and like I know that's why it was coming. And I even get that he saw his old friend Dimitri in like the arm bar that he had broken his arm with previously. It still just felt like he is like mid kicking their ass, and he's like, suddenly all those things those guys said to me are sinking in. Maybe I should punch the other team. I don't know. That felt a little bit too much for me, but I knew it was coming. I just wish there would have been a more conclusive moment with him and maybe Miguel, where they were, going, or even if it was more conclusive with him and Dimitri actually going head to head, blow to blow. And at one point, maybe I just wanted there to be a little bit more like individual connection with him than just kind of like in the middle of the brawl.
Well, I think the way they did it was actually a little better than that because literally everybody that was his friend before he was in karate and while he was at Cobra Kai were now not in Cobra Kai anymore. Like all his friends got kicked out by Kreese. So like literally he's with all the people that he
He's
hated.
with all the people that he no longer likes. Yeah, that's fair.
So
fair.
it's all
I did really love the scene where they reintroduce is it Kyler, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's having like you can see Hawk's a little shook. He's like remembering his lit more. He's like panicking a little bit, but then he whoops some ass, to be fair.
Yeah, he did. He didn't stop, which is exactly what Kreese likes.
No mercy. Yeah.
So what did you think about the return of Allie?
I liked it. I thought that I had a lot of predictions going into this season that kind of sort of ended up being true, but like not like I had predicted that Daniel and Johnny were going to have to team up to take on Kreese, but I didn't think they would wait till the very end of the season and set that up for like the next season arc, which is way smarter. I'm glad they did. Like that's great. Allie, I did think was going to be back, and frankly, I was one of the people that fell hook, line, and sinker that she was going to be Miguel's doctor. I thought that was just too perfect. And a lot of people are predicting that. So I fell into that where I'm like, oh, that's going to be the big reveal is it's going to be that specialist. And they even like kind of, they like threw shade at us for believing that because they did that big reveal moment where the doctor turns around like it's going to be somebody and it wasn't.
Yeah, and I thought maybe it was just going to be like a trick where like he didn't recognize her and then it goes back and actually shows her better later. Cause like I texted you in that part too. And I was like, hey, is that, nope, it's not her.
Nope,
okay.
just kidding. But,
Fine.
the whole country club scene, actually, it's a 2-part episode, essentially, that mostly takes place, or at least both parts partially take place at the country club. She's in both of them. I love all of the connection. Like you already pointed out, I do like that she was the one that kind of, like, talked to them about how they're both – she actually even says, you're both a lot more alike than you are different. And she talked about, there's your story, and the truth. I really liked all of that. And I also like that they even went back and gave resolution to the relationship between Allie and Daniel of like what happened. And it wasn't
he basically turned out like Johnny.
He turned out exactly like Johnny. Got jealous and was kind of a jerk about it. But it was an emotional moment, not nearly in the same sense that it was with like the Miyagi letter. But admittedly, I was very moved during her speech where she talked to him about like he was trying to apologize essentially, and she like cuts him off to say like, look, we were really young, and the only part I remember, there's a lot more good memories than there were bad memories, and they kind of have this kind of sweet moment. They hug for a second time, and then Daniel's wife calls him out on like, oh, 2 hugs for Allie, huh? Which all of that was just really, really fun. And even the way with Johnny Lawrence, he has what's Miguel's mom, Carmen?
Yep.
Yeah. So they have the like right before Allie shows up, of course. Carmen and him are kind of like rekindling because there was the obvious tension when her son was injured. But I even liked how they handled all that because it like kind of had new Johnny and old Johnny kind of battling one another for just a moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, old Johnny almost won too for a second there. Her phone didn't go off.
Bench, that phone bench. That phone didn't ring on the park bench.
Which I was like, do not mess things up with Carmen. Oh, come on, Johnny. But no, there's a lot of fun moments in season 3. I just, like I said, the nostalgia factor is really what got me in the season. Like it's the whole time I could not wait for him to go to Okinawa, and then the whole season I was like, I want Terry Silver back. I know out of the original 3 movies, it's our least favorite, but like I think he's such a good villain that like I want Terry Silver back, and then I want Mike Barnes back too. I honestly think it could be interesting if you had Johnny and Mike get into it because Johnny never met him, so like seeing them.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
The 2 like bad boys take some swings at each other would be fun. I very much enjoyed the fight between Kreese and Daniel and Johnny at the end of the season too. Like I liked all that. Definitely thought Johnny was going to get stabbed. I don't know why Kreese was still showing a little bit of weakness there when he hit him with the blunt end of the sai. He Raphael'd him.
Yeah, yeah, he could have legit killed him there. I guess that's true.
Well, because he doesn't want to kill him, he wants him to join him. So
I did like, yeah, he wants him to come back to the fold. That's true.
Yep.
Because he has his son essentially hostage right now is more or less what it looks like. Robbie will be the champion for Cobra Kai going into the All Valley tournament. And like you said, we don't have any idea what our matchups are going to be. We really don't even know if technically, I mean, will they represent as one dojo? Will they have representatives from Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do as two separate dojos, but just two of them are like peaceful with each other? Like, there's a lot of questions just looking like as if this were a real karate tournament that we could all get excited about. Like, I hope they cover it on ESPN, but like they did with the remake Karate Kid movie.
Does Miguel get an automatic pass to the finals like they do in old school rules? I hope not. But also,
yeah, that's what happened to Daniel. I forgot about that.
Those rules could come into question if you change dojos in between the seasons too. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered. But where does the show go from season 4? Like, is it end at season 4, or I don't know how
so
much.
That's a really good question, because it does seem like for the most part the first 2 seasons drew off of the first movie. This third season has drawn off of the second movie, and really in a lot of ways almost beat for beat to some extent, because it's all about going back to like, you know, where it all began, to like recenter yourself and come back with that new instead of the drum this time it was the, you know, what is that paralyzing thing?
The Kung Pao, another paralyzer.
Yeah, the chorizo move that he taught him. But it does look like this 4th season is going to be all about the third movie, and that very much does leave it up in the air. Like, at that point, I mean, I don't think they're going to do a next Karate Kid parallel. I mean, they might reference it lightly, but they're not going to go there, I don't believe.
They've talked about bringing Hilary Swank on.
Have they really?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard that. That would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
But
now, they did tease something that was huge in the third Karate Kid movie in this one. That, oh my God, what's the main girl's name? I'm blanking.
I don't even remember her name. It's been so long since I've seen it. Did they teased her?
No, of Cobra Kai. The daughter. LaRusso's daughter.
Oh, Sam.
Sam, thank you.
Cobra Kai. Come on,
yeah.
Right, Miles.
My bad. So in this season of Cobra Kai, Sam, whenever she was going through her like panic attacks and whatnot, the thing that she used to get through it was the kata that was taught to Daniel LaRusso in Karate Kid Part 3. So they've already like set the stage to bring that back, because those moves she was performing to kind of like center herself, that was kata from the third movie.
I didn't catch that. I thought it was just the stuff her and Daniel were practicing with the sticks earlier, which was old training, because he said that earlier in the season.
Yeah, I like the stuff with the sticks and the sai. There was really a lot, again, just from like fanfare alone. Oh, you talked about going back to Okinawa. I really like that they brought Yukimo back as well. Did I say her name right?
Kumiko or
Kumiko. Let me look it up, because I can't remember. Kumiko. So like all of that was somewhat predictable. Like, as soon as you see her dancing, like you know it's coming.
I was like, oh, you got to become a dancer. That's what she wanted to do.
It's perfect. I like that her life story was like she got to go and do like chase her dream and all that good stuff. But she was actually the one that called Chosen back in. Mm-hmm. And that was really interesting too, because like we actually get to see what happened to Chosen as an adult. And he is actually there's kind of a sweet moment between him and Daniel, because at first Chosen is very respectful to Daniel, but he's also very like reserved and kind of closed off. But after they complete their training, he actually shares with him one of the Miyagi scrolls, like essentially admitting or accepting that he is part of the Miyagi dojo.
Oh crap! I don't even remember. Do we get to read that scroll?
I don't think we did. I got the impression though that it was the scroll that he originally tried to grab that was the secret to the numbing moves that they end up using at the end. I that was my interpretation, is that was him giving him like that other secret, that secret that Miyagi hadn't had a chance to share yet because he hadn't had a chance to share it yet.
I like that Daniel tried to tell Chosen it wasn't your fault. You had a bad teacher, and then Chosen was like, "Well, no. After you left, Sato actually like tried to change for the better, and do all this stuff to like make things better." And that Chosen was talking about how much he regretted everything that he did. So I like that. Like again, it puts that gray area back in there where it's like you can't. Life is not like this person is good and this person is bad. There's a lot of gray area in there. So I really like that aspect of it where it's not as cookie cutter as it appears from the outside.
And I think, yeah, 100% I agree with that. And then I think it even adds to it when you think about how Chosen, Daniel, Johnny were all teenagers when these events occurred, or at the very most, Chosen was in his young 20s, but very much still a kid. Like I would say most people probably have something or like that they feel foolish about or like regret believing or regret doing that they did at that age or somewhere around it. And just the fact that they did go back and kind of give that character the full rebound arc where he really redeemed himself entirely. And even like I said, yeah, honk. Which he does get Daniel by the nose, which is a really fun moment.
That's when his character finally opened up too. Like he'd been reserved because he was waiting for that. I've been waiting a long time for this. He completely like changed the way he was after that. I love that moment. Again, you knew it was coming, but you loved it.
You knew it was coming. You know what? Actually, maybe like for, like you said, if you're watching with somebody that didn't have a lot of insight to the first movie, they might have been completely like, huh? Whenever that moment occurred.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where like Karate Kid's one of the few, or Cobra Kai's one of the few things where like if I feel like something nostalgic is going to happen, I will call it out loud. Like when Daniel was paralyzed, I was like, he's about to get a nose grab. I'm going to call it out. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
I think that's reasonable. Also, it's one of the few things, along with like Ninja Turtles, that it's completely okay for you as an adult to like do the moves along with the film. It's totally fine.
There was one thing I wanted to talk about because I read an article like 3 or 4 months ago about the character Aisha, where I knew she was not going to be in this season, and the actress said that the writers told her they had completed the character's story arc and there wasn't anything else for her to do. And I feel like that was. I literally said before the season started when I was talking with somebody, they're probably going to have one line explaining what happened to her where like her family probably moved away or something. And I felt really crappy about that. Like I felt like that they could have done so much more. Like that character is still having to choose between like Tori and Sam. And like, even though she was going back towards the Sam side, there's a whole lot of stuff in there. And like, she was a character that was being bullied at the beginning of the first season and then kind of became a little bit of a bully. But at the same time, she was more like, still just kind of standing up for herself. I feel like
she definitely became a bully, but it was almost understandable because of how much she had been bullied and like who she was targeting her bullying at. But she was a great character.
Yeah, I think she's more fun to see what's going on with than Sam is right now. I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of Sam bashing in this episode.
I still like her. Yeah, I don't know what she did to you, but
she just like her problems compared to everyone else's seem so minuscule, and it's all about like.
She also does have that like spoiled white girl quality about her. Like it's like all these problems just keep happening because I pick fights with like ghetto people or whatever.
I tell my friends to go beat up this other person, but then I back away from it. But also I'm going to go kiss all the other boys over there and cause all this drama. And sorry if that seemed a little underhanded there, but it's the truth, Sam.
That's fair. No, so Aisha, they actually had a lot come out this last week whenever the show dropped. She was on some form of social media addressing to her fans how, like, it wasn't her decision and she really wanted to come back as Aisha, but they just told her that it wouldn't be. But the creators of the show did address the situation, and they did say that, like, they did not have anything new for Aisha this season, but she very much still exists in the Cobra Kai universe. And just like they kind of did with this season, how they recycled some of the season 1 characters that we didn't see at all in season 2. They might have been casually mentioned, like Kyler. And is it Moon, like the hippie girlfriend of Hawk from the first season?
That was season 2 when they dated, so she was still in there.
Okay, well, she was only in one of the. No, it was season 1 when they dated, and she was like not around. Or no, not Moon. Moon's friend, the popular
Yeah,
chick that
yeah, she was in
this
Paris
is
in the
Dimitri.
summer. Yeah,
So like characters like that, where we see them, then we don't see them, we see them again. They essentially left it open for Aisha's character that it's very much something that they might revisit her. I would see a possibility where maybe she's training out of town, but we see her at the Old Valley because she's now with this like out of town dojo that comes to compete. That would be really interesting.
I honestly don't know how the All Valley continues at this point. Like I know they stood up for it and the kids won the day with it, but especially like after this fight outside of Cobra Kai, like they're gonna have to keep everything really, really hush hush.
There is on the same night a brawl in a mansion and a brawl in a strip mall, and
All the same cast members that were involved with
everybody's like, "Shh, guys, we really want this tournament to hand." Stitches or snitches get stitches. Shut the fuck up.
And like I'm sorry, when Kreese was like, let's settle it old school like we did way back when at the All Valley. I'm like, I don't believe
Like,
that you'll
fight.
yeah. I was like, I don't believe that you'll leave if you lose. Like there's nothing about you that makes me think you're gonna leave.
Yeah, honorable is not something that seems to be a word I would use to describe him as.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I am mostly excited for season 4. Again, I would love to see some of the characters that we like. Aisha, I think would be really cool. You kind of loosely brought it up earlier, but the idea that we don't know where the tournament is going to go, we don't really know who our top person representing the dojo is going to be. I honestly hope it isn't Miguel. I hope they continue Miguel's storyline where he is recovering from a very severe accident. So it would be ludicrous for him to go back to his 100% self immediately. Like that should be a struggle and a journey, and he should probably have to take some like L's before we see him back on top in the wherever karate scene.
See, in my book, the score is that Tori has been beat twice by Sam, even though Tori like whooped the crap out of her both fights. But like Sam has
Tori got scars on both of them, but
Sam got like the
Sam won.
final blow. And it's the same with Miguel and Robbie. Miguel beat Robbie in the All Valley the previous year and beat him in the school fight, and then tried to end the fight, and then Robbie got up and kicked him. So like
shot at him.
Yeah, I feel like the same people have pretty much won the fights. And I mean, Dimitri beat Hawk the one time and then technically beat him with his heart here in the last episode. So I think it'd be interesting to see like a Hawk character having to take on Robbie or maybe, or I don't know. I feel like they need somebody different. Like that's what makes me lean towards the two girls being the.
Well, that's why I like the idea of Aisha coming back and Aisha having gotten a lot better in the last like maybe Aisha is now like a badass in this new dojo. Like
she's a quarterfinal fight or semifinal finalist against one of the other two girls.
Maybe, or maybe they even shift gears altogether and they make Aisha the top. Like they don't let one of the two. Like they set up the whole season so you think it's going to be one of these two girls that we see battling each other, and neither one of them can get past Aisha.
Neither one of them. Oh.
I think that'd be very humbling for both sides, and could also, in a roundabout way, set up a new like. It would be a villain, but like not really. But you know what I mean? Like she's a dominant force, but she also has friendly ties with both characters.
I don't think she would be a villain. I think it'd be something where like the semifinal fight would just be so tough between Tori and Sam that like that's the real fight, and then like Sam wins, but then goes into the finals against Aisha, and she doesn't mind losing, and they play it out where it's like Sam lets her win, even though she's really way better. Like that's just how Sam's storyline has been, and I would not be surprised if they did that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't like that.
Where Sam has such a big heart, and she cares so much about her friend, even though all this bad blood had happened. That like she sees a moment to take a cheap shot to win, but she doesn't.
Honestly, you're making. I don't like that you like doing this is actually making me like her less because you're like pointing out some pretty glaring flaws.
But, I mean, it makes sense for the character, is what I'm saying.
No, I feel you. I feel you.
My friend deserves the spotlight, so I'm going to let her win.
I do like to. I think we're getting close to done here, but I want to talk a little more about Johnny Lawrence. I like that they keep taking him back to rock bottom, or they brought him back to rock bottom. But it doesn't feel rehashed or out of it. Still feels very much in character because I feel like even when Johnny is like flying high or succeeding, he always has that dark edge where you could see just like he's really just barely getting by. and if anything goes wrong, he could fall right off again.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of who he is, but it's Miguel and his mom are the ones that are like putting the light back into his life. So that's part of the like. You like the scenes with him and Miguel. Like as much as I like seeing Daniel and Miguel have a moment where they talk inside the car, like he has devoted himself to Johnny because of how what Johnny's done for him in his personal life. So like it's an equal relationship, and it's.
I loved all the rehab scenes. I don't think we talked about it at all, but some of the rehab scenes with Johnny were just so. Here's a porno mag. Get up. He's like, I can see that on my phone.
But like, I really enjoyed the scene where Miguel yelled at Johnny, where he was like, "Quiet!" And then he's finally standing. Like I feel like it's almost more beneficial to Johnny in that relationship than it is to Miguel, which is I think he even touches on that with Carmen in one scene. So I like that relationship, but I'm like most fans. My favorite part of this series is definitely when Daniel and Johnny are together. Like it's scenes where they have to be together, and like it's very uneasy, and very awkward. But like they also, like Ali said, are very similar. I think those are the best scenes. I enjoyed the fight they got into out at the car shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like seeing them have to work together, and I'm glad they keep coming up with ways where they have to cross paths.
They keep putting him in those situations. Yeah, that body shop fight was another one that's just like, seriously, is this how we resolve problems in this world? But
and Reseda, oh wait, nope, we're from Reseda.
That makes me also very excited just to see them forced to work together in the next season. It's going to be really interesting dynamic because I obviously I think a lot of the tension of the season is going to come from their clashing styles of senseiing, and that's going to be really, especially if they have to constantly keep the focus that Kreese is the real bad guy. They're going to really get under each other's skin, which is going to be really fun to watch.
And I think somebody like Terry Silver will be really good at pushing their buttons and
manipulating.
Yeah, like he will get under their skin, even though Daniel's already beaten them before. Like there's gonna be a lot of, you don't got Miyagi around anymore, do ya? Oh yeah, just like Kreese has done. So like it's Terry Silver's good at getting people under people's skin. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we talked a lot about Cobra Kai. Is there anything else that we missed? Is there anything else that you want to talk about Karate Kid in general before we get out of here?
I think it's important to discipline yourself in the ideologies of things like that, but not to execute them physically outside in the world. So if you're watching that, young kids, do not fight with your friends inside mansions and schools like that. That is a terrible way to behave.
I disagree. If you're under the age of 18, do everything that you are told you shouldn't now, because the consequences only get worse later in life.
And all you'll get is suspended from school, or well, only two of you.
Or like even if you get juvie, dude, probably not that bad.
Juvie, dude. All right, so that's your lesson, Miles. But no.
That's what we're taking away from today. You should resolve all conflicts through fighting. That's my takeaway
all
from
Valley tournament only, though.
What's that?
At the All Valley tournament, though, because that's the only spot that matters.
Well, that's only when you're going to do it the old-fashioned way, Richie. You can't always solve things the old-fashioned way.
But no, it's I'm glad that there's a new fan base for the Karate Kid in general, but definitely more specifically Cobra Kai. Like Netflix picking it up was
huge,
a no-brainer. Like that was a no-brainer for Netflix. The show's already made, and it definitely jumped up on Netflix's viewing as soon as they got it. So like
we went out of our way to watch it on YouTube when it launched, and it was like such a great show. But like instantly when it went to Netflix, you just knew that there was going to be, I don't know, quadruple, if not more, people that are getting to see this show now for the first time.
There's something so fun about wax on, wax off that has lasted through all these years, and they even do another jab at that in this season.
Cast the pole, Richie. Cast the pole.
Well, no, I'm talking about even Sam in one scene. She's like, "No, you got to wax it to the left," and then but then they did.
Was that the car wash? I think.
Yeah. Well, I was like, it's just there's something so charmingly fun about that, even after all these years, where it's hard not to like the Karate Kid. It doesn't have to make 100% sense. The cops should have been called numerous times throughout this entire series, but it's okay. We want to see it happen this way. If the cops got called, they would be resolved, and all of them would be in jail at this point, and there'd be no fun.
Yeah, that's not a good story. That's really boring. But
Cobra.
That is gonna do it then for this best darn everything about Cobra Kai. Make sure you follow Richie the Whiz Kid everywhere. No, he's mostly just on Twitter. I'm everywhere else, but he's at the Whiz_Kid 23.
And that bumbling buffoon over there trying to talk is at Mr. Most Days Off pretty much everywhere. But most importantly, you can follow our show. That's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
And we normally talk about The Simpsons each week, and we will continue to do so because we're not going anywhere right now. We'll be back with a more traditional Best Darn Diddly episode next week when we'll be reviewing Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner?
Eagle Fang for life. By the way, what's the name of the new dojo going to be when they merge?
I was hoping that I watched it back to see if they showed it, and I don't know, but I'm very curious.
That was a very long name for a dojo.
You know what? Until next time, bonsai!
Bonsai!